Hello students, good day to one and all. Welcome to NCERT Smart Class. Today we are going to discuss page number 678 from the lesson What, Where, How and When History. Now here in this page number 6 you can see a picture showing pot on left hand side and some silver coins on the right hand side. Hope you can see that. I'm sharing in my screen too. Please have a look at it. This pot is from an old city. Pots like these were used about 4,700 years ago. Usually we should have studied about pottery in the previous lessons. Now this is a sample of the pot that was used around 4,700 years ago. And just have a look at the right hand side silver coin. These coins were used about 2,500 years ago. Okay, so this is what archaeologists have found out, and these are the artifacts. Now just look at the coins and you can also differentiate the present day coins with those coins. What differences you can spot. You can just have an activity as given there, and moving little bit below, archaeologists also look for bones of animals, birds and fish to find out what people ate in the past. So talking about the food habits of people who lived long ago, archaeologists they also found the bone pieces, and with that they come to a conclusion about their food habits too. And then plant remains survive far more rarely when compared to animal bones. Plants rarely they survive because the leftover plants or seeds would have burnt out. So that's why we don't have enough proof what they ate, the plant food what they ate long ago. Definitely we don't have evidence, but regarding animals what they ate, looking at the bones, definitely we have some evidence left over. Do you think cloth is found frequently by archaeologists? This is a question for you students. Please think about this. Do you think they used cloth? Archaeologists found cloth from underground. Evidences were there or not? You should give a good answer for this. And then the next paragraph, historians, that is scholars who study the past. History means studying past. Who are historians? They are scholars who study the past. Often use the word source to refer to the information found from manuscripts, inscriptions and archaeology. Okay, they always use the word source. You can see that in this paragraph second line. They use the word source to refer to what? The sources that they got. Okay, like the manuscripts. Already we discussed this in the last class. If you want, you can just go to page number 4 and have a look at the manuscripts, that yellow color, where they used on dried palm leaf or bark of trees called as birch. Hope you remember that. And inscriptions, we have discussed this in the last class. They write on hard substances using sharp tools. Okay, we call it as inscriptions, given in page number 5. Please turn your page and have a look at the inscriptions too. All these archaeology. Okay, all these archaeologists refer to as source of information. Okay, once sources are found, learning about the past becomes an adventure as we reconstruct it bit by bit. It's actually an adventure for us. We get sources from archaeologists. The sources will not give a detailed explanation of what actually happened in the past. We have to work on that. Bit by bit, we have to investigate. We have to analyze what actually happened in the past. So actually it's an adventure. So historians and archaeologists are like detectives who use all these sources like clues to find out about their past. If definitely they are like detectives, because the sources that they get, they are very very old sources that survive for a very long period of time, over hundreds thousands of years back they were they emerged out. So it's very difficult to arrive at what actually what happened using these sources. So they have to work on that. So they are actually like detectives. Historians and archaeologists, they are like detectives. One past or many. Next paragraph. Did you notice the title of this book? Our Past. Just turn the book, the cover page. You can see the title as Our Past. P-A-S-T-S. Okay, it's given in plural to draw attention to the fact that the past was different for different groups of people. Actually, they didn't mention it as past, they mentioned it as past, P-A-S-T-S, which means different groups of people are there, okay, to draw their attention. It is not just about one particular day, month or year. It is about over a period of time. That's why they refer to as past, P-A-S-T-S. For example, the lives of herders or farmers were different from those of kings and queens. Just imagine the life of farmers and herders. What life they lived. Farmers, they do farming. Herders, herding animals. That life is totally different. Think about the life of kings and queens. They how they rule, their kingdom, the battlefield, everything. You think it is totally different from those of farmers and herders. And think about the life of craft person, merchants. Their life is also different. So people follow different practices and customs in different parts of the country. So their customs, their practices are different. In one country, if you just travel around the country, you can see people following different customs. Their practices are different. They are not one and the same. Their food they eat, how they lived their life, everything is different. For example, today most people living in the Andaman Islands get their own food by fishing, hunting, collecting forest produce. By contrast, most people living in the cities depend on others for supplies of food. So just look at page number 7, the top paragraph. You just compare the life of people living in Andaman Islands, and also you compare the life of people living in city side. How do they live? Actually, in island side, people they do fishing, hunting. They produce their own food. Okay, they also collect the forest produce. But in cities, people are dependent on the food suppliers for their food. So it's totally different. Differences such as these existed in the past as well. So today life scenario you're comparing with the Andaman Nicobar Islands and some Chennai city, Mumbai city. You just compare and see what about people who lived in the past. Definitely their lifestyle is also different from place to place. You agree with me, I believe. Next paragraph. Besides, there is another kind of difference. We know a great deal about kings and the battles they fought because they kept records of their victories. Definitely, when we discussed about the inscriptions, I mentioned a point where kings, they have a record of their victories. Page number 5, you can see how ruler Ashoka, he gave in inscription all his orders, and king's victory were also engraved. Hope you remember that point clear. Now all the kings, they have record for their victories in form of manuscripts or inscriptions. Definitely a record is there. But what about normal people who do hunting or fishing, or farmers and gatherers, herders? What record do they have? No, they won't keep any record. Just like how kings and queens have records, these ordinary people, they don't have record. So archaeology helps us to find out their lives, because their remains are unknown. So with the help of archaeology only we can arrive how they lived, what they ate, what was their culture, all these facts. Hope you understand this better. So you have to know how king kept records, whereas ordinary people, they don't have records. Then how do we know about their life? Archaeologists, whatever they collect, the evidences, with that We come to a conclusion how farmers and herders lived, hunters, fishers, how they lived. Okay. Now see here. What do dates mean? Very, very important paragraph, because if you know how to read the years before the birth of Jesus Christ and after the birth of Jesus Christ, definitely we will know how to read the years, because counting the years right from millions and millions of years ago definitely is very difficult. We cannot do it, we cannot calculate it. Maintaining record is very, very difficult. We need a break in between. That break, birth of Jesus Christ, that year you just mark it down, and from the birth of Jesus Christ you count the year forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we are in 2021. So when you count the years, those years you can mark it as after the birth of Jesus Christ. That is CE, Common Era. Now you may ask me, what about the years before the birth of Jesus Christ? Yes, we will count the year backward from the birth of Jesus Christ, and after the years we will mark BCE, that is before Common Era. By doing this way, 2021 is very easy to count, keep records, keep notes, and to order the events. But if not, definitely long years, so many digits, maintenance is very, very difficult. So now children, listen. So to birth of Jesus Christ we marked, from there we count the year forward. You know this. Common era, you know, CE. Okay, and before the birth of Jesus Christ, BCE, that is before Common Era. Okay, if somebody asks you the date, you will probably mention the day, month, year, 2000 and something. These years are counted from the date generally assigned to the birth of Jesus Christ, the founder of Christianity. So birth of Jesus Christ, from there only we count the years. So 2000 means 2000 years after the birth of Christ. What about 2021 students this year? 2021 years after the birth of Jesus Christ. Very good. All dates before the birth of Christ are counted backwards and usually have the letters BC, before Christ, added on. In this book, we will refer to dates going back from the present using 2000 as our starting point. Okay, next page, I think we are going to work on this. Before that, again, let me repeat. Earlier days, we used to call the years before the birth of Jesus Christ as BC, that is before Christ. And after the birth of Jesus Christ, we call as AD, that is Anno Domini, which means in the year of the Lord. Anno Domini, it's a Latin word, okay, in the year of the Lord. Nowadays, we use CE. Instead of AD, we use CE, that is Common Era, after the birth of Jesus Christ. And I said earlier, BCE, before Common Era, before the birth of Jesus Christ. Okay. So turn to the next page, number 8. Hope this is little clear for you. But when I finish this paragraph, page number 8, it will be very, very clear. Letter with dates. BC, we have seen, stands for before Christ. You will sometimes find AD before dates. This stands for two Latin words, Anno Domini, meaning in the year of the Lord. That is Christ. Okay, Lord is Christ. So 2012 can also be written as AD 2012. Okay, older version. Now, sometimes CE is used instead of AD and BCE is used instead of BC. Now, hope you understand. If you have a rough note, you can draw a straight line, a timeline chart. Center, you mark the birth of Jesus Christ. And older version, you write on top. Okay, before the birth of Christ, you write BC. After the birth of Christ, you write AD. And now, new version, you write at the bottom. Before the birth of Christ, BCE. After the birth of Christ, CE, Common Era. Like that, if you write it in your rough note and 2-3 times, it will be very easy for you to remember. Now listen, sometimes CE is used instead of AD and BCE instead of BC. The letter CE stands for Common Era and BCE for before Common Era. We use these terms because the Christian era is now used in most countries of the world. In India, we began using this form of dating from about 200 years ago, and sometimes the letters BP meaning before, present or used. Okay, so 200 years back we started using this calendar because throughout the world they are using this Christian era, so it's very important we also go with them. So 200 years back we started using. Now see here, elsewhere boxes there, that also will complete. So book back a separate video I'm planning to make. This elsewhere will complete now. So you have seen inscriptions on hard surfaces. Many of these were inscribed several hundreds of years ago. All inscriptions contain both scripts and languages. So just what you are looking at, some inscriptions, you can see either script in the inscriptions or languages also. Okay, languages which were used as well as scripts have changed over time. So it keeps on changing. So it's very difficult for the scholars, historians to read them. They need to read, understand, then only they can give us good information about the inscriptions, right? Reading the scripts or languages, we call it as decipherment. Okay, decipherment, understanding, reading, that process, what the scholars do, we call it as decipherment. DECI for PHERMENT. Page number 9. One of the most famous stories of decipherment comes from Egypt, a country in North Africa where there were kings and queens about 5,000 years ago. So, okay, it was an important, interesting story about the decipherment from Egypt. Where is Egypt? It's a country in North Africa. Please underline that. Okay, what is it all about, the story? Yeah, Rosetta is a town on the north coast of Egypt, and here an inscribed stone was found which contained inscriptions in 3 different languages and scripts, Greek and 2 forms of Egyptian languages. Okay, so Rosetta is a town in Egypt. There an inscription was found on a stone. 3 languages, scripts were written. One Greek and other 2 forms of Egyptian language. Understand? Now look here. Scholars who could read Greek figured out the name of kings, queens were enclosed in a little frame called a cartouche. So scholars can read Greek language. Okay, they can understand that Greek language. Okay, names of queens, names of kings were there. So that they call as cartouche. Okay, they then place the Greek and the Egyptian signs side by side and identified the sounds. Okay, 2 forms of Egyptian language were also written, but they can't understand that. What they did, they kept that side by side. Greek they know very well. One side they kept Greek and the other side the Egyptian language they kept. Okay, then they identified the sounds for which the Egyptian letters stood. Okay, sound. With the sound, they want to identify what they stand for. For example, lion stood for L, bird for A, like that. Looking at the letters, they arrived at the word. Once they knew what the letters stood for, they could read other inscriptions as well. So, what the letter, for example, L stands for lion. Like that they understood. Once they know what the letter stood for, others were very, very easy for them. Like this, what you are looking at. PTOLM, like that. Using the letters they identified. With this lesson is over. We have book back exercises to discuss. That is, match the following and few question answers. Okay, let me do that separately. And please do subscribe, like, share, comment. You will very soon be masters of history and social science as such if you continuously watch, support our NCERT Smart Class. Thank you, students. Have a great day. Bye.